is the one you want to do. Justin in Minnesota is saying the study of comets disproves evolution. So welcome, Justin. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Could we start with some definitions?
Okay.
Like, what's your definition of evolution is?
Yeah. Well, evolution is like, types changing into other types over billions and billions of years. And what I'm going after is the billions and billions of years. The comets prove a young universe. And so that's the premise. That's the angle I'm coming from.
Okay, so the first problem that I have is your definition of evolution. And that is that it's the change in alleles over time. Yeah, it's a change in alleles over time. That is the definition. So evolution does not prove that there is an old Earth, but it definitely is one straw in the basket, because it does take time to do that. So and then evolution gets started with abiogenesis. So yeah, I'm not sure that this is going to go too far, but go ahead.
All right, so I've got an article here on the origin of comets by Dr. Walt Brown. So I wanted to give you my source because I didn't the last time I called in.
Is it specifically talking about short period comets?
Short period comets and small comets, yes.
Yeah, are those the only things that we can use to date the universe?
To date the universe, it's not the only thing, but it's evidence. So I'd like to know why you would rule it out.
I didn't rule it out. Do I think that some comets may be young? I don't have any way to suggest that it's otherwise.
Okay, yeah. The short period comet's lifespan is 12,000 years, and they still exist, so we haven't hit the 12,000 year mark.
No.
So are you assuming that all comets start at the beginning of the universe?
Hey, hang on a second.
Okay.
I'm a short period human. My lifespan is 70 years. I'm only 51. Does that mean that we haven't that the universe hasn't existed for 70 years yet?
So you'd have to explain your supply. Like we can obviously your parents had you.
No, I asked a question. I asked a question. Does the fact that I'm 51 mean that the universe hasn't been around for 70 years?
No, because we can solve the supply problem. You're not the only source of our supply.
But the fact that you may not know what the supply chain is for comets doesn't mean there isn't one, does it? Does your not inability to know something mean that it doesn't exist?
So in this case, you would have to choose ignorance over the facts.
No, you would have to choose I don't know because there isn't evidence for it.
Right. Yeah. Ignorance is not knowing something. I don't use that as a derogatory term. I'm sticking with it.
I wasn't suggesting it was derogatory. You said that you chose ignorance over facts. That's not true. You chose ignorance. You didn't even choose. We are ignorant of what the explanation for X is. That isn't choosing ignorance over the facts. That is acknowledging ignorance in the absence of sufficient evidence.
But wouldn't that classify as a false dichotomy to say that a comet with a 12,000 year lifespan equals something happening that we don't know about, that we have no evidence for? How can you equate those two things?
I don't understand your question.
So what you're equating is that these comets have a 12,000 year lifespan and they still exist. So to believe in billions and billions of years, you're saying that they must have come from somewhere after the Big Bang, after initial creation. But we don't know what that is. It's something we have no evidence for.
No. Just like the fact that that's an inference, just like the planet. Like right now, the current suspicion is that the Earth and other planets form from an accretion disk of a sun. Okay, that is the current best model. But the fact that didn't happen for a long period of time, and the fact that some planets are younger than others, and the fact that we don't have an explanation for it, doesn't mean that we get to say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go with the Earth is young when all of the other available evidence points to the Earth being old. So you have all this evidence about expansion and distance and time and a number of different ways to date the universe. And you're pointing to one thing and saying, because we don't have an explanation for this, therefore we are reasonable in concluding that the Earth is young. So you're now picking not just ignorance, you're picking the wrong answer in the face of evidence, or you're picking an answer in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Right.
And
that's where the small comments come in.
And you've decided to call a show with no astronomers, no physicists, nothing at all to present your particular model. Why aren't you out winning a Nobel Prize, sir?
Well, I gave you my source. Initially, it was Dr. Watt Brown, and then he lists his source here. It's Harold Levi.
So let me ask this question. Let me ask this question before we get into his source model. Yeah. So, is all comets only 12,000 years old, or only some comets are 12,000 years old and some are older?
No. The comets are not 12,000 years old. Their lifespan is 12,000 years. So
okay, so
their lifespan is 12,000 years, and they're still alive. They're not really alive, but they still exist. We have not reached year number 12,000. And
for the comets that exist, that would be correct. How do you prove that comets have not stopped existing yesterday? How do you know a comet didn't stop existing yesterday?
Small comets.
I didn't qualify it. The question I asked was, how do you know a comet didn't stop existing yesterday?
Because they strike the Earth once every 3 seconds. The small comets do.
So what? I didn't ask that question. I asked, how do you know a comet didn't stop existing yesterday?
Because they're still striking the Earth today, every 3 seconds.
Okay,
and I'm talking about a specific. I'm trying to get to
when they strike the Earth, they cease to exist, right? So, in fact,
I couldn't hear you over.
When they strike the Earth, they cease to exist, which means they do, in fact, cease to exist every day.
Yes. Now, what creates comets? Where do they come from?
They come from the beginning.
No.
Oh, no.
Kuiper belt.
Yeah.
From the beginning, there is no matter that comes from the beginning.
Yeah, they come from the Kuiper belt, and they can also come from our own asteroid belt, much closer in. They can come from anything that collides in any piece of rock that comes into orbit. The Kuiper belt's the closest one. That's where most of them exist, and most of them are believed to have started and been created from the accretion disk that started the sun and our solar system. That's where they come from.
Yeah, this is why I asked at the beginning. This is why I asked at the beginning if you were specifically talking about short period comets, because short period comets aren't the only type of comet.
Right.
That's like, that would be like you doing an assessment of young people and suggesting that older people don't exist.
Well, that's why I did a twofold argument.
But do you agree that the Kuiper belt
and small comets working together?
Right. Do you agree that the Kuiper belt exists? And I may be pronouncing that incorrectly.
Kuiper belt.
Kuiper belt. Sorry, the Kuiper belt exists.
Can somebody get me Neil deGrasse Tyson real quick?
Yeah. Do you agree that the Kuiper belt?
I do, because that is actually the source that. Well, the work is from the Kuiper belt to Jupiter family comets, and that is the work that states that the physical lifetime is 12,000 years.
Of short period.
So the guys that have the degree, I don't have.
There are also long period. There are also long period. So there are also long period comets.
Yeah, there's also things that are definitely, indisputably dated to being older than 12,000 years, like the Earth and the Sun and other things. Right.
Right. Here's the difference: long period, short period.
No. You just agreed with me that there are things that are older than that.
They're retrograde, though, in their orbit. Short period comets are retrograde.
You agreed with me that the Earth and the Sun and everything were significantly older than 12,000 years.
We're talking about relation. And if I did that, it would have been because I didn't clearly hear two different people talking at the same time.
Are there comets in the Kuiper belt that are older than 12,000 years?
No, sir. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. There are long period comets.
Is the Earth
older than 12,000 years?
Is the age of the Earth closer to 4.5 billion years than it is to 12,000 years?
No, sir.
Okay, then you need to go. You need to. Okay, I don't give a shit if you believe the Bible literally. I care about evidence literally. You might as well come to me and say, "Hey, this holy book says this." But I'm talking about what the science says, and the dating of the Earth by the overwhelming majority of scientists, experts, and the methods, which it baffles me to be sitting here talking to somebody who thinks that they've found an exception that undermines all of science. Why aren't you off getting a Nobel Prize for proving that the Earth is young when all of the experts in the field suggest that the Earth is closer to 4.5 billion years old?
I called in with two examples, and their procedures or methods of dating the Earth are circular.
No, they're not.
Paleontology and geology.
No, so you forgot about radiometric decay and other things. Yeah, it's not circular. What it is there's about 25 different dating methods, and they overlap at different things, and each one of them shows the accuracy of the other ones. You should just, a quick Google search on the reliability of radiometric dating would solve this for you. You have been fed a line of bull from a bunch of young Earth apologists who don't understand the science and have managed to convince you that you're on strong footing, and you're not. And since neither Jim nor I are scientists, I think it speaks volumes that you decided to call us with your armchair comet proof, which has been addressed and debunked over and over. You can go to the Index to Creationist Claims and find it. You can search Wikipedia and find it. You can what are the responses to Answers in Genesis bullshit and find it. You can find Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about this. You can find experts in a number of different fields, both with regard to comets, planets, stars, the Oort cloud. You are so far away from science that before I will talk to you anymore, you'll need to submit a peer-reviewed paper on your particular claim.
Yeah. And honestly, I just Googled the Kuiper Belt, and the 10 things to know about the Kuiper Belt from the NASA site basically says you're not right. So
difficult. It's difficult. I get it, but
yeah, so there's just so many different ways that you're wrong. It's not even funny.